Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome once again to another exciting Vobes show. Yes, here am I, the old Vobester himself, Richard Vobes, in the back room of my house, broadcasting live to you, streaming on the 28th of September 2018, hoping that you can hear me all right, hoping that you can see me all right, and hoping that you haven't been hacked and all your data breached. If you are watching on Facebook, be interesting to know, because this is going out Facebook Live. Did you have to log in to your account this evening? Were you one of those people that suddenly found, oh, that's weird, I've been logged out. Hang on, I've got to re-sign in. What's my password again? What is that password of mine? Were you one of those people? Maybe you were. I was. 50 million people, it seems, have had their data potentially breached. We don't know. Nobody knows who the culprits were. They don't know what the damage is. But they do know how it's done, and of course Facebook is assuring everybody, oh, it's all fixed, it's all locked up, there's nothing to worry about. Yeah, we can look after your data. We're very secure, we are. Let's hope they are, because obviously there could be a lot of scams about to happen. So if you suddenly hear from me saying that I've done some strange things, or I'm desperate for your help, or I impecunious. Well, no, not if I'm impecunious, because I often say I'm impecunious and I need you to become a patron of Vobes. But if for any reason, you know, you're trying to be elicited unfairly and strangely and weirdly, then it's obviously not me. So just be aware your data may have been scammed and you may get some strange emails saying all sorts of things. So make sure you don't believe any of it. Only trust those that you really know where they came from. That's the advice on today's show. Anyway, let's see if there's anybody out there. There seems to be a few people. Joe Smith has joined, which is lovely to see you, Joe. Maya, Ullman Harwood, Judith Oakley, Anne Osborne, Paul Hine, David Carey, Wendy Wakelin, Mark Selwood, all the way from jolly old Cornwall. David Carey, I've said. Ian Beddoe, Steve Blakey, Paul Hine. I think I've already mentioned that. Hang on, let's get round here. We've got Matthew Holdsworth, hoping to see Matthew tomorrow. Anne Osborne, the lovely Julia, Glenn Johnson. Good evening, all. Good evening. I've made it to a live show. I had to re-log in, says Matthew Holdsworth. Yes, I was just saying. Good day, Vobesters, says Malcolm Glazier. Good day to you. Very nice to see you. Vicky Allen, Judith Oakley, which is marvellous. Terence Dacombe. If I don't mention your name, it's only because you sped past rather swiftly. I get this bald bloke keeps emailing me, says Steve Pilfold. Don't believe a word of him. He knows nothing. The lovely Julia says, hi, folks. I'm not at roller disco, but busy about... So only partially watching. Sorry, Vobes. All right, then. You're probably... Oh, nice and warm in here. Toasty, they might say. Toasty. Well, I don't know what you're up to then. You're unable to watch the old Vobie One-Eyed Kenobi. Andy Dalgleish says, hi, chums. Hello. So there we are. Did you have to sign it in, ladies and gentlemen, to the old Facebook? Has your data been hacked? Be interested to know if you've had a bit of trouble with that. And if not, if you manage to get through without any problems whatsoever, because apparently they're not telling us what part of the world has been hacked. 50 million accounts. It is rather a lot. But fingers crossed that we're all okay. I've got some coffee here, which I'm drinking in my special mug, which has a picture of my face on it. I know you may not believe that. I'm going to actually, if I can get the blooming thing up, I can show you a picture of my face on my face cam. There it is. Look at that. It's a nice little mug, that one. That came in, years ago, actually, when I was doing the old live... It says on there, live TV, when I was doing the cam streams. Ian Beddoes remembers the cam streams from some time ago. Anyway, cheers, everybody. That's rather nice. A little button I've got to press over here for reasons which I cannot explain. But it comes up because it needs some sort of verification. I had a bit of chicken today. Some of it's still stuck in the, you know, like stringy bits of chicken and stuff. Or the worst is, not the worst, but one of the worst is celery. You know, when you get bits of celery stuck in your teeth. Or pips. You know, if you've been eating any of those lovely raspberries that they've been having out. Those raspberries. Apparently you don't sound the P, but anyway, raspberries. They get stuck in your teeth, don't they? Have you had any of those stuck in your teeth? They're pretty grim. Let's have a look at the old massages and see how we're doing. Yes, we've got messages coming thick and fast, which is good. Can we roll a disco up on the next meetup, says Mark Selwood. Well, that would be interesting. I wonder how many of us can actually do that. Lovely Cynthia Julian says, late again. I had to sign into Facebook, couldn't get in, couldn't remember my password, so it was all a bit dinky-doo. Laura Riddle. Hello, Laura Riddle. Nice to see you. Thanks for coming in. Robert Crozer. Nobody accuses me of being swift. No, I'm sure that's very true. All okay, says Anne Osborne. So obviously you weren't hacked, which is very good. Linda Kane says, I've got a glass of wine in hand and watching Gardener's World, but I am here as well. Gardener's World, eh? Blimey. You'd think they would have grown up by now, wouldn't you, those gardeners? They've been planting them for decades. Steve Pilfold says, talking of warm, are we going to have an Arga Rayburn Asda Smart Price range lighting live when you get one? Well, do you know, it's interesting you should say that, because those people who may not know, I am actually trying to purchase a Rayburn, and I did speak to a company yesterday and today. I've been in deep conflabtations. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, conflabtations with two different companies, both of which are, well, one's in Gloucester, one's in Herefordshire. And they have them. They have reconditioned. I say, I don't want to buy a new one. A new one is going to cost you about $5,000. I don't want to buy one from eBay. Don't want to buy from eBay because you never quite know where it's come from. You don't. To be honest, I don't really trust eBay. I don't like to buy things off eBay because you send money off mysteriously and you never know if it's actually going to arrive. I'm sure it does. I mean, maybe it's proved itself now. I do buy stuff from Amazon, and you spend money on there, and it mysterious. But I suppose it's because anybody can be on the other end of it and just go, "Oh, I'll keep that money." Hee hee. But it's rather a lot of money, isn't it, on eBay at $2,000 or $3,000 to spend on a cooker. So it's, you know, I wouldn't like to chance it. But plus the fact, once you've spent the money and you look at the condition of the thing, it may be a bit crappier than you actually think. So I don't want to buy it that way. I want to buy it reconditioned. And my budget is about $2,000. Well, you know, to buy them, they're about just over $2,000. Now, the big problem is not only that, is I've got to have the chimney on the left-hand side, and I need the hot water pipes so I can heat hot water on the right-hand side. And all the photographs I've seemed to see of these lovely things is with the chimney on the right-hand side and the pipes on the left-hand side, which means that the chimney's got to go like this and the pipes have got to go all like that to get into the right position. So it is a bit of a headache, I can tell you. But when we got one, oh yes, we'll have a nice warming up the house and in the kitchen thing. The lovely Emily Champion has just joined, by the way, in case you weren't paying attention. Matthew Holdsworth says he's just cooking a lamb. Oh, that's very nice. I hope you killed the lamb first, otherwise it's sort of going to be a bit torturous for the thing. Did you shave it? Did you manage to get all that wool off and turn it into a nice, you know, ready for Christmas, for a big woolly beard? You could play Santa Claus, could you not? Mark Selwood, the Jonathan Beluzic, just so he knows I've said his name, has also entered the premises, which is very nice. Thank you very much for doing that. What have we got here? Why anyone want to steal my personal data is beyond me, says Mark Selwood. Well, quite. They might want to know exactly where you keep your drone and then, you know, nick that and give it to me. That would be a good one. Linda Kane says, she said what she said because she did say it earlier, and I did talk about the wine and Gardener's World. Laura Riddle says, taken them out and clean them. Taken what out and clean them? Your teeth. Yes, maybe that's what it is. Just looking at the lamb. What? Cooking a lamb. Sorry, I'm getting confused here. Yes, drives you mad. Getting food stuck in your teeth, says Anne Osborne. Right. Nigel Slater is in, which is nice to see as well. Where do the gaps come from, says Glenn Johnson. Shrinking teeth, growing jaws. Yes, who knows? Or teeth just fall out, don't they, from time to time? Anyway, you're making comments. I can't keep up with them. Dean Cooper is here, and Fiona Cooper. Are you related, Dean Cooper and Fiona Cooper? Are you in the same household? Or are you just happen to be beer barrel makers of the same creed? Who knows? Anyway, not to worry. Right, ladies and gentlemen, yes, I do want to get this Rayburn. I want to get it sorted fairly soon because we are getting into a bit chilly. And then I need to go and order a whole load of ash logs because ash logs are the best logs to burn, although people will recommend other ones as well. David Keel. Hello, David Keel. Lovely to see you there. I'm keeling over just to know that you're out there, which is fantastic. Thanks very much for coming on. Dean Cooper says, good evening, Richard, from me and Fiona. Ah, isn't that nice? There we are, a little bit of a love interest there, which is lovely. Dean Cooper says, we're married. Oh, that's the love interest gone then. And Fiona says, yes, husband and wife. Ah, well, I'm sorry about that. It does happen to people. I did get married once, and I'm free, I'm free, I'm free, as Mr. Humphreys used to say. Anyway, none of that is of any importance because we must move on because I've got some other very important news, ladies and gentlemen, to announce. Here we are. Now, some people will have already seen it. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, you may remember that the lovely Julia and I went up here to Mortimer Forest earlier this year because I heard that in Mortimer Forest there were problems. A spa company wanted to put in sort of holiday hostels into this beautiful forest in Herefordshire. And they wanted to see that road behind us here. That would have become a tarmac road. There would have been big lorries coming in. There would have been holiday makers coming into this very quiet and beautiful place. And it would have been causing chaos and mayhem and a lot of pollution and using water from the boreholes and killing off the trees of Mortimer Forest. But you'll be very pleased to know, ladies and gentlemen, I'm sure, unless, of course, you're arguing in favour of them. And I know Steve Pilfold was arguing a little bit in favour of them, but we clashed our knives and we remain friends, which is good. However, the company, the luxury holiday hostel home company who wanted to wreck the lives of the locals by doing all this, have decided not to go ahead with their plans. Yippee! Which is marvellous. Now, of course, the lovely Julia and I made a fantastic film. Fantastic it was, even though I say so myself, in the pouring rain, where we danced and pranced all round Mortimer Forest in tutus, which is very nice. We should have had umbrellas, really. It would have been better, but we didn't have umbrellas, so we did it in tutus. She had a purple one, naturally, and I had a blue one, naturally. And it was all very fine, and we got a lot of attention. So we had to put on our normal clothes, and then we made our film, which we did very sensibly. And I'm pleased to say that, of course, the managing directors of the luxury company must have seen our film and thought, golly, the Bald Explorer and the Purple Ranger has gone there, and we daren't pit our wits against them, and so therefore they've backtracked and they're not doing it. So that's fantastic. Of course, it makes you wonder where they've gone. You know, these people don't just disappear under earth. They're probably looking for another forest somewhere else where perhaps, you know, nobody's noticed and they're going to sort of stick their oar in. So if ever you see any of these spa things or trees suddenly disappearing and big lorries going in, then let us know, because the Purple Ranger and the Bald Explorer will go forth and we will get back on in our tutus and go round doing the Nutcracker, which always puts me in a slight quandary because my voice is an octave higher than normal. But anyway, there we are. So that is good news, ladies and gentlemen. It's probably got nothing to do with us, nothing to do with our film, but it was all great stuff. Mark Selwood says, victory for the power of the Vobes. Thank you very much, Mark. That's very kind of you. Vicky Allam says, sometimes people power works, so Happy Forest has been saved. Yes, now, the next thing we've got to do is try and make sure that happens at Binstead so that the planned A27 that wants to cut through this ancient woodland can't happen. Obviously, it's got to go somewhere, and we think the best option is to put it underground. And I believe that there has been some costings and some thoughts in that, but at the moment, the not the Environment Agency, the Motorway Agency, or whoever it is, the Bugger Up the Country Agency, yeah, they haven't entertained the idea. We really want to close down the Bugger Up the Countryside Agency because they're not very nice people. Steve Pilfoot says, I wasn't, he says it quickly on his defence. He quickly comes in and he wants to slap me down, and that's fair enough. He says, I wouldn't say I was on favour of them. I just found the facts presented by the locals a bit fuzzy. But that subject is closed for fear of assassination. Steve, now don't be like that. Fear of assassination? Goodness sake. What kind of person do you take me for, young man? We won't be hearing anything else from him. Thank you very... Oh, no. It was just my hand and my fingers. No, just a little joke, ladies and gentlemen. Just a little joke. I don't want to upset anybody. Just a little joke, Steve, all right? Just a joke. Nobody noticed that. Yes. So anyway, I'm very pleased about the news. Mark Selwood says you are a tooting cracking your nuts is enough to scare anyone off. Oh, you and a tutu cracking your nuts. Yes, of course. Yeah, that would. Thanks, Mark. And you said such nice things to my face when we met up at the meetup. It was such a nice bloke. But of course, once back in Cornwall, in the safety of being behind that corn wall, the wall of sweet corn, which they grow to stop the rest of us getting in there. He feels quite safe. Ian Beddoes. Hello, Ian. Why didn't you stop the hundreds of houses behind us from being built? Well, I didn't know about them, to be honest with you, and I wish I'd stopped many of the houses that are being built. What we need to do is to build the houses on rafts. That's what we need, and then sort of set them loose in the Atlantic. That's my answer. Fiona Cooper says, missing Julia. Yes, I know the show's not the same without the lovely Julia, and I'm trying to fill in for her, but unfortunately, it is very difficult. I haven't got my purple fringe on today. Apologies for that, but doing, as I say, the best I can under the circumstances. Now, ladies and gentlemen, Mark English, lovely Mark English has joined us, which is fantastic, fantabulous, marvellous. And I've got some other news now that Mark English has arrived, because that has actually reminded me, and those people may have already read this, but here we are, more excitement for you. Too much excitement in one day, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, the lovely Mark English and I are going to Avebury. Oh, Avebury, the ancient place of Avebury. Mark knows it very well. It's almost his second home. I believe he's actually got a little cellar under one of the standing stones there where he resides and nips out and, gets with his dowsing stuff, and he goes and gets the vibes from the stones and all of that. And he's very kindly going to team up with me, which is very nice. Very brave, very brave. We're going to share an abode. We are. Not a room, but an abode with 2 rooms. We went to Airbnb and we had a look, and we discovered there's this lovely place in Marlborough. And Marlborough, it's lovely in Marlborough. Apparently it's got the widest high street in the world. Well, maybe not in the world, but certainly in Wiltshire, and possibly in England. I can't remember what Mark said now. It was, 24 hours ago. Anyway, it's lovely. I've driven through Marlborough, and I've been to shops in Marlborough, but I haven't been to the abode that we're going in Marlborough. But it's very nice. And right close at the back of Marlborough is a big packet of cigarettes. I think they're Camel cigarettes. Not quite sure. Anyway, no, at the back of that is the Devil's Den, very close to Marlborough. And the Devil's Den is some standing stones, but it used to be a barrow. It used to be a long barrow. I think the entrance to a long barrow. But megalithic stones are there, and but now all the mud and the chalk and everything is blown away. Somebody sneezed, you see. Somebody sneezed. It's all gone, which is a shame. And you can go there, and it's almost like a mini Stonehenge, but it's quite big. I made a documentary there called History You Can Touch, and then later on I turned it into the 8th Bald Explorer episode, or one of them anyway, called First Monuments or something like that. Anyway, so check that out, and you'll see pictures of me going up to the Devil's Den right at the very beginning. It's a lovely, interesting place. Anyway, we're not going there. Oh no, we're not going there particularly. We are going back in time to, I don't know, Neolithic times, Bronze Age times, Iron Age times, early man times. Which, for Mark is about 6 o'clock in the morning when he's normally asleep. But I shall be up. I shall be up there ready with my binoculars, my camera, telescope, microscope, fish scope, brain scope, Tyrannosaurus Rex scope, all of those scopes, as far I could be scoped out, ladies and gentlemen, scoped to the point of no scope left to go. No stone will be unturned. Well, maybe all of them, because they're actually quite heavy. They're several quite heavy. Anyway, let's have just for those people who are not quite sure about what Avebury is. Here's a picture of Avebury from the sky, ladies and gentlemen. That's actually from the sky, as opposed to from behind a blade of grass. And as you can see there, Avebury is a mysterious place because people have bunged houses in there. There's a crossroads. You see, it's probably an old ancient hill fort by the looks of things, or some sort of enclosure, ancient enclosure. Mark's going to tell me all about it. There are the standing stones, which were moved in there. And then you've got the ditch, the defensive ditch, and there was probably, I don't know, was there a palisade around there? I can't remember. I did read up about Avebury some years ago because I did a thing about it. As I say, well, I say a thing. I mean, I did a little bit about it. Here's a close-up of the standing stones, ladies and gentlemen. You don't really get the scale of those stones. They could, you know, that could be quite small, but actually they are quite big. Megalithic stones, they are. I'm not quite sure whether they are sandstones, but they're not, or whether they're the blue stones, the same as the ones that Stonehenge came in. Mark will tell us a lot more about that. He's probably got some videos about it. And here's another one. Here's another look from the sky, ladies and gentlemen. Up in the sky. How did I do that, ladies and gentlemen? I don't know. I jumped very, very high with my little camera and threw the GoPro high into the air, and it just happened, you know, it's by happy stance, happened to capture that, which is rather nice, and I think that did a very good job, really. And when it came down again, it nearly hit one of the stones and smashed to smithereens, but it didn't. I managed to catch it, and we got this shot here, which is all very nice. And here's a quick, without looking it up, here we are. Who's that? Who's that, ladies and gentlemen? Quick look at that. What do you think? Who is that person? Do you know? Do you know who that person is? Here, I'll give you another look. Oh, no, it's not me. No resemblance. There's me, and there's him. Do you know who that is? I'd be interested to know. Oh, hello, this page is... What's happened here? Have I gone offline? This page is asking you to confirm that you want to leave. Data, stay on page. Stay on page. Stay on page. I'm sorry about that, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know whether I'm still broadcasting or not. Let's have a look. Maybe stay on page. Why am I getting that? The data has been breached on Facebook. Oh, I keep getting this. Keep getting a flash up saying this page is asking you to confirm that you want to leave. Data you have entered. No, stay on page. It's Facebook obviously farting about. I have no idea whether we're still broadcasting because it just keeps coming up now. It does seem to be still there. Samuel Pepys, says Robert Crozer. No little pyramid stone in the picture. Marlborough, the Duke of Marlborough. Richard Suggett says it's him. You're still there, says David Keel. Thank you very much for that. I'm constantly having to click this silly little button that tells me it wants to stay on the page. I've no idea why, but it is trying to do that. It's been hacked. Yeah, I think it has been hacked. I'm not quite sure. Which means I can't actually see the comments unless I click these things. They come up. And of course, the person who got it right is Mark English, who quite rightly says, let's go back to the picture. Here we are. That is John Aubrey, ladies and gentlemen. That's right. John Aubrey. Very interesting character. I have a book about John Aubrey, actually. It's a lovely book. Here we are. John Aubrey, A Life by David somebody or other. I can't read his name. Tilden Wright. And it's quite a thick book on the life and works of John Aubrey. I bought my book cam in, by the way. There we are. You can see my book cam there working extra overtime. And the interesting thing about John Aubrey is he introduced back in after 1660, I think something like 1663, I think it was. Mark English will know. Mark with a Q, that is, he'll remember. Not that he was there. He's not that old, be fair. But John Aubrey, an interesting bloke, was one of our first antiquarians, really, who drew the attention of King Charles II to the monument of Avebury and got him interested in what it was all about and why it was there. And he told the king it was even more stupendous and more interesting than Stonehenge. And the king, fortunately, believed him. And he said, oh, all right, then I want you to write a discourse about it. I want you to, find out as much as you can. And John Aubrey was sent away to do such a thing, which was useful. And the king, he was on his progress. Kings used to sort of go around the countryside. They didn't have Twitter, and they didn't have the means to hack into Facebook back in those days. They just, and of course dial-up was pretty long-winded back then, because you had to send your password by a rider on a horse, by messenger. No, not that messenger, not Facebook Messenger. You had to send it. Messenger was actually a bloke on a horse back in those days. And you used to write your password down, and it would gallop off to wherever, probably Bristol, I imagine, get onto some sort of tall ship, and it would go across the Atlantic, get over to America, and then on a pack horse, it would have to go west. and all of that, and get over to the Facebook headquarters so that they could verify who it was and have a look at the sketched likeness of the king and go, oh yes, and that's the password. Yeah, then they could log him on. Then the rider could come back, and so it was a bit long-winded to do Facebook. But back in those, I don't know why I was on that track. No idea what I'm talking about there. But yeah, so in order to, yes, that's right. So in order for the king to sort of show his face around people, he couldn't log on and do all that, or tweet or do Instagram. So he had to go round the countryside and go, hello, I'm your king. Hello, I'm your king. Look at my lovely ringlets and my gold fingers. No, not gold. It wasn't Ian Fleming. I don't want you to get... No, that's a different story. Ian Fleming wasn't around in 1666 when King Charles II came back to the throne, or took on the throne. Ian Fleming was around in the 20th century. But by gold fingers, I meant the rings on his fingers, the bells on his shoes, the long plastic nose, and the big evil moustache. No, he didn't have a big evil moustache. He had that sort of Charles Spaniel look about him, King Charles Spaniel look. I suppose that's why they called him King Charles, because he did resemble a King Charles Spaniel. I guess that's why his dad probably named it. Mind you, his dad was King Charles, wasn't he? They weren't terribly inventive back in those days, as I seem to remember. They probably didn't have... of course, they couldn't just log on and go, boys' names. We must think of some boys' names. There must be... Oh, well, Charles, I'll think... Oh, what did you say? I said, well, Charles, I'll think... No. Charles, that's a good name. Yes, it's your name. Oh, yes, tis my name, isn't it? It's a very, very good name. I like that name, Charles. Let's call him Charles... Let's call him Charles the Third. Well, he's only the second. All right, Charles II then. That's a good enough. Anyway, I'm going to go and start the English Civil War. Don't deal with me at the moment, love. Just sort him out. I'll go and get my head chopped off. So anyway, that's what happened to Charles I. Charles II came along, and they had to flee the country, didn't he? As we all know, hiding in the oak tree at Boscobel, and then nipped over down the Monarch's Trail. Luckily, thanks to the OS, he had an OS map, so he knew where the Monarch's Trail was, so he could get down from Shropshire and get all the way, go down into Dorset and Devon, and then across, and then down into Shoreham, and grab a boat, and then hightail it to France until it was clear to come back. And then, of course, the Great Restoration, there he was. So I can't remember how I got onto all of this, because it was something to do with his rings. Oh yes, so of course he wanted to show people that he was the king, and he did these progressions around the country, and he was progressing to Bath. We got there in the end, ladies and gentlemen. We did finally get there, yeah. So he was progressing to Bath, and on the way to Bath with his wife, he said, here, love, you stay in at the Marlborough place, because he stayed at Marlborough as well, by the way, ladies and gentlemen. He really did. And I don't think Airbnb was going then. I'm not sure that he was logged on and able to stay at sort of, a little Airbnb. Well, where should we stay? Is there a nice, cheap Airbnb? Because back in those days, of course, that was when Airbnb started, and no doubt he really did have to have an inflatable mattress to lie on for his kingness. And of course, those gold rings were probably a bit sharp, and he would have ended up in the morning a little somewhat deflated, just as his wife was also anxious that he wasn't deflated, because clearly they wanted more children. But anyway, that's neither there nor here. And so he was progressing around the country, and he said, oh, Mr. Aubrey. Did I mention John Aubrey? I think I mentioned him. John Aubrey said he recommends going to Avebury. There's some nice garden ornaments at Avebury. A nice rockery, I believe, he said. And so off he went to Avebury and had a look. He went, yeah, that's nice. And then he thought, what I could do with is a big ump where I can put my throne on the very top. And John Aubrey said, I've got the very place, Silbury Hill. You can put your throne on the top of there. So apparently King Charles nipped up there and found some snails on the top. And I was just reading that from this very same book. So there we are. Anyway, the point is, ladies and gentlemen, I don't know why I got onto that. The point is, it's all a bit barking. Stay on the page. Yeah, I'm trying to stay on the page, but I don't know whether anybody... Can you still see me? Is it still working? No, I'm getting some sort of stuff. Yes, stay on the page. Stay on the page. I'm just trying to stay to the... Because I can't see the comments now, ladies and gentlemen. That's why I'm just spouting rubbish. Anyway, the point was Avebury. There he is. That's the bloke who started the whole movement off, and it's thanks to him really getting the king interested in Avebury that the business of antiquarianism sort of kicked off. So that's John Avebury. That's John. Now, my next book on the list of Avebury in interesting things. If I go back to my book cam, here it is. This is old William Stuteley. He was the first man to chronicle the great prehistoric stone circles in the world, both at Stonehenge and Avebury. And there's some delightful pictures in here somewhere. I marked them up. Oh, there's Silbury Hill. Look, the big hump. Yeah, that's the big hump that the king wanted his throne on. I'm not sure that was really true about the big hump being. And there's some more pictures of the big stones being drawn at Avebury. Anyway, that was William Stuteley. He was a good bloke. Let's get rid of that one. And I've also got this book here. This is by a bloke with curly hair. There's a picture of him. Bloke with curly hair. And it's called Circles and Standing Stones, as opposed to Walking Stones. And it has a chapter on Avebury and various bits. I thought I had a whole book on Avebury, but I put a marker in here. Wait a minute. Here we go. Here's a marker. The Great Stone Circles, it says. Let me just, I'll just read this tiny little bit, keep you amused for 1 second. Hold on. It says, the village of Avebury in Wiltshire stands at one end of a shallow valley not far from the narrow course of the River Kennet. It is surrounded on 3 sides by chalk downs, the smooth outline of their crests broken by many small bumps, which indicate the remains of burial barrows. Try saying that when you've had a few. The houses, the main street and the fields where sheep and cattle graze are all contained within a vast arena of earth approaching a mile in circumference. That's that big round, the big round fort that I was telling you about a few minutes ago. From one side of the village, the top of Silbury Hill, the largest man-made mound in Europe, appears like a wedge between 2 folds of chalk not far away. Partial excavation at Avebury has not yet ruled out the possibility that large wooden buildings were erected on the site, but the main body of evidence relates to the great temple of freestanding megaliths raised here at some point around 25,000, 2,500 BC. So, there you go. Anyway, so the lovely Mark and I are going to Avebury. We're going to go there. We're going on the 9th to the 11th of October, ladies and gentlemen, which is only round the corner. We've got a B&B, and we are trying to raise a little bit of money just to help pay for it so that we can bring a special Mark English and Richard Vobes Bald Exploring report. Several reports, and also we're going to do a live show. There is Wi-Fi there, and I shall take my little EE modem, and apparently Mark's come up with a brainwave. He's come up with this idea that we can manage to sort of go streaming on YouTube, on Instagram, on Facebook, if it's not hacked, on all sorts of interesting places. We can even go streaming to the moon. Our faces will be projected onto the moon's surface. And the other day there was that spaceship that was going round, I don't know, the space station. We'll be projected onto that as well. Yes, in fact, even the face of Big Ben, they're going to remove the clock and put a massive screen on there, and we will be broadcasting from Marlborough. With King Charles II and his little pet spaniel, and we will be broadcasting from there. So it's definitely worth interesting. So if you're interested in helping to support us and get the medication so the Vobes doesn't talk complete and utter rubbish when he next broadcasts, then go to thebaldexplorer.com and you can make a donation there. You can make a one-off donation, or you can use my PayPal thing, whatever. So baldexplorer.com, and that would be great. You become a patron if you do that, if you put a significant amount, and you'll get more blurb and rubbish from the Vobie One-Eyed Kenobi on a regular basis, unless you're Glenn Johnson, of course, whereby I forget for a little time, and then it's only thanks to Julia picking up the message and saying, "Here, Vobes, you've left Glenn off the list," and it's like, oh gosh, I'm so embarrassed. What can I do? I'm sorry, Glenn, but you're now back on the list. Not that you were off the list because you weren't on the list in the first place, if you see what I mean. But you're on the list now, and thank you very much to being a patron, and it's lovely to see you. And I hope some of that made sense. Shall we go to the gallery, ladies and gentlemen? I think that we ought to go to the gallery because we're getting a little bit mad. I can't go to the comments. I don't even know if the comments are going. I do apologise. Can't get to the comments because the thing is doing some very strange thing. I'll just have a quick look. Stay on the page. Stay on the page. I think I'm still broadcasting. I'm not 100% convinced, but it keeps saying stay on the page. Stay on the page. Moonface, that's all I've got. That's the latest comment. Yes, stay on the page. I'm trying to stay on the page, but I obviously can't stay on the page. Thanks, Emily Champion. Let's go and have a look in the gallery and see what the lovely Julia has managed to pull up for us today. So, that nearly blasted my ears out. So our first picture here, it looks like a little bit of a forest trail, doesn't it? But what is it really? Let's have a find out. This is from Matthew Holdsworth, good old Matthew Holdsworth, who says, quick stroll in Felland Copse. Sorry, not corpse, copse. There's no R in the word, but I always make that mistake. Anyway, I don't think he found any dead bodies there. The woods behind the back of my allotment. Well, you're lucky to have that. I can't believe that I've never been there before, he says. So there we are, Felland Copse, ladies and gentlemen. Felland Copse, as opposed to not to get confused with Felland Robbers. There's Copse and Robbers with Matthew Holdsworth. Let's have a look at this. This looks like a wonderful tree, and hugging the tree is Nikki Jess. She says, me and Mark Selwood went to Hampton Court Palace. Palace, beg your pardon. We had a lovely time and found a lovely tree, and look at that, there we are. And also, I think that's quite a nice bin in the background there, if my hawk eye can spot that. Good place to put your rubbish in. But thank you very much, Nikki. That's marvellous. Now, I wasn't really sure what this one was. It's a lot of lace and looks like some ribbon. But actually, this is from Sarah Poole. She says, a bit of silliness from our trip out. 800 years of history depicted by the Teasel people. Now, Teasels, of course, we do know are those enlarged, what do you call them? I was going to say thrushes, but I don't mean thrushes, do I? Thistles, that's the word I was looking for. Thrush is something completely different. This is seen in Chidham Church in West Sussex. So still not quite sure what it is, but that it is there. But a silliness, apparently, from Sarah Poole. So thank you very much, Sarah. That's absolutely fantastic. Vicky Allen has been to Twickenham today, she says. On such a lovely, warm and sunny day, the trees in Marble Hill Park looked so colourful, and so they do. Those two little ones there with a very nice russet brown. And it looks like, I don't know if that's, they look like they might be horse chestnut trees. Certainly the one on the left. And the other one could be an ash tree. I'm not quite sure, but they are turning now very quickly, which is such a shame. Here we are, couple of horses, mate. Wendy Wakelin, she says, I've been out for a walk around Liss, and this is what she's seen. Couple of horses. There's a brown one and a white one with a black tail. That's very nice. Thank you very much, which is rather good. Bit of graffiti going on here. It's a good job the culprit was caught red-handed. I don't suppose he saw that actually Andrew Graham nipped up behind him and took the photograph whilst he was spraying a whole load of nonsense on the wall. He says, a street art reminder that we need more trees and green spaces in our big cities. And that's absolutely very true. Good for you, Andrew, for doing that. Glenn Johnson says, found Dorking. What? You've been found dorking? Well, you can get arrested for that, you know, Glenn. You really want to be careful. Oh, wait a minute. I've misread that. It says he has found Dorking Windmill at last and says he's happy about it. He'd lost it, you see. You know what it's like. And I don't... It's not a windmill. It's a watermill. I misread that. It's a watermill. And you can tell that by the size and shape of it, of course. And there it is, converted into a house. He's also been out and about from Dorking down to Stopham, because he's taken a photograph of Stopham Bridge, and there it is. Look at that. That does stop them in their tracks, that bridge. It's so lovely. Did a film with Sir Brian Bartolot the other day. You'll find that on the videos. And it was great fun. Gotta love Stopham Bridge, says Glenn Johnson. You're absolutely true. You have got to do that. Now, this lovely... Oh, and I didn't even show you that, did I? I talked about it. I didn't put it across. There, that's the one I mean. There's Stopham Bridge. Sorry about that. I was talking about it. You couldn't see it. It's a very exciting moment of live broadcasting there for you. So here we go. Hello. Thank you for joining me. Yes, it's Henry David Allam, who says, I took a visit to Dolbarden Castle in Llanberis in Gwynedd. I don't know if I've got any of that pronunciation correct or wrong or whatever. But anyway, that's my attempt, and I'm not going to repeat it. And there it looks like the circular wall of a keep by the looks of things. I'm not 100% sure. But he does get, good old Henry, David rather, he gets up to all sorts of exciting things. He's got a varied and collected load of videos, so do check them out if you can. Meanwhile, finally... Good old Mark English, he says, a solid 5-mile local walk this morning along the Wandle Trail from Beddington Park to Whaddon St Mary's Church next to Carew Manor. Carew, is it Carew? Carew or Carew? Or couldn't Carew less? Anyways, a lovely looking manor and a lovely looking church. Well, I can see the church with the little sort of almost like checkerboard on the top there. You can imagine the bishop and the castle having a game of killing the rook. Anyway, there we go. Thank you very much. That is the gallery on the Bald Explorer page on Facebook, if you can get into Facebook, that is. Of course, if you're watching on YouTube and this has actually managed to record and it's able to be downloaded and put onto YouTube, you're just thinking, oh, what is this nonsense? What is this Facebook rubbish that he's talking about? He's clearly completely bonkers and mad. I just realised I'm not wearing my performance glasses. This is why the performance today is not 100% par. Excuse me whilst I change those. You notice there is a slight difference between these glasses. I can put them both on like that, actually. I could do that, because, blimey, I can't see a thing through there. These glasses are supposed to be better. They're actually slightly blurrier for me, but they have a reflective coating on them, so that I should... so the lights in the studio are not supposed... So you can see my eyes better, or at least my eye, and then you can see my fake eye even more. That is the theory, anyway. That's... Can you see the fake eye, ladies and gentlemen? Yes, probably. Now let's have a look. Oh, stay on the page. Stay on the page. This is very boring. Vicky Allen says, "Will donate via PayPal." Marvellous. Yes. When you donate those thousands via PayPal, don't forget the 6 zeros. That's very kind of you. Thank you very much. Every now and again, I do get the odd bit of word, but not very much. But we do seem to be together. The Lovely Julia says, thanks to everyone for providing the lovely photos. Yes, thank you so much. That's, if you aren't a member of the jury, then you really want to get yourself into the Bald Explorer group. Go to Facebook, Bald Explorer page, just put in Bald Explorer page, and you'll see group. It's a closed group. The reason we use a closed group, it's very easy, really. It just means that when you put a post in there, people can post because it's a group. Anybody can post. You don't have to just post to or react to a post that I've put in. Anybody can post. You can put your pictures up. There's some fantastic videos. We've got some wonderful video makers out there doing videos and sharing stuff. It's absolutely brilliant. I'm so impressed. It is amazing. And but the reason we have it as a closed group, which means that when you go in, you have to wait for someone to verify and let you in. And basically, we just let everybody else. We let everybody in, and if they cause a nuisance, we kick them out. But nobody does. Nobody causes a nuisance because we only attract nice people. Amazingly, seeing as I'm fronting it, think we're only we would only accuse. No, not accuse. Acquire. No, that's not the word. What am I saying? We would only attract, other raving loonies from the local nut house. But no, apparently, actually, you only need one nut, and loads of other nice people. So, you know, I'm the loony and everybody else is very nice. But the reason it's closed is when you do post and stuff, everybody gets the information. It's shared to you. Whereas in other groups, if it's not closed or it's just on a page, because Facebook has this weird method of, well, we won't tell everybody because if you want to tell everybody, you've got to pay for it. That's their boosting thing, which is a strange old business. Still pressing the stay on the page button. Still don't know if I'm actually live or not, but I'm struggling. Yeah, it does seem to be going there. I didn't see the mill either, says Debbie Martin. Oh, did you not see the mill? Did I miss the mill out? Oh my goodness, I'm so sorry. Let's go back to the gallery. Hold on a minute. Where was the mill? Here. Did I not? Slightly. There we are. That's the mill. That's Glenn Johnson's mill. It's not. I mean, I'm not saying he lives there. Well, he might do. Who knows? He just lost his keys. He couldn't work out how to get back there. Who knows? Anyway, that's the mill. All right. It's certainly not run of the mill. I apologise for not showing you that. There's been a few things. So let me just go through my list of bits and pieces here. Facebook, we've done that. Mortimer Forest, Avebury, Gallery. Yes, that's rather good. Planting. Oh yes, I've got to check. It is that time, ladies and gentlemen, where we checked the other day. I think it was at the beginning of the week. The lovely Julia and I on Monday's show, we did a very interesting thing. We'd collected up acorns, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, acorns. We had collected them. I'm just looking to see where the rest of them are. Here we are, look. We collected up these lovely acorns. Just trying to find the camera. Where's the camera? Here we go, look. Here we are. Acorns and other things. They're not acorns. That's from a plane tree. These are chestnuts. These are horse chestnuts, which of course we know as conkers. Just drop that. I've got some. These are helicopter things from sycamore, and I also had some hawthorn, some blackthorn, some ash seeds, all from trees, all from trees. I planted them. I've been planting those today. You'll see if you watch the behind the scenes when it comes out on Sunday. You'll see I was planting some of the seeds earlier today. But never mind all that, ladies and gentlemen. It's time to check. Let's have a look. We planted an acorn on Monday's show. Now, the question is there anything sprouting in this or not? It has been watered a few times. We've got to keep it moist. And I'm looking into the pot. I'll let you have a look. Can you see? Is there an acorn? Is there an oak tree growing in here? No. I think the answer to that is not yet. Not yet. But don't worry, because when we come back on Monday's show, we will check over the weekend. Surely, I mean, it'll be up to about here, won't it? It'll be about that big, I would think. Something like that, probably. So that would be I'm very excited about that. So that's good. So we've tested to see if the oak tree has grown. And because the secret, what we're going to do, of course, is we're growing all these little saplings. We're going to get them so that they're about 3 foot tall. And then the lovely Julia and I, maybe Mr. Suggett, who knows, we're going to wander around, decide in the dead of night when nobody is looking, we're going to plant them. And we'll keep an eye on them over the next few years to make sure. And then in about 100 years' time, we'll come back and we'll see if they really have lasted. And in 300 years, it would be better to come back. So I'm going to keep making sure I drink some of that rejuvenation stuff that keeps me so young looking and desirable, I've run out of it, actually. I've got a stick of it here. It's rejuvenating. It's actually from Ella's Beehive. It's they'd say it's beeswax, and actually you can see here it does say beeswax there, but it's actually more like toffee. It tastes pretty good too, actually. And the other thing is you can rub it in your head like this, like that. And around your face, on your nose, like that, and it rejuvenates you. It's Factum Totem Pole, that. I don't know where I got it from now. The old brain's collapsed. Nice. Of course, not everybody can rub it in their head. So the advice is to get that rejuvenation really working well is obviously shave all your hair off. And if you shave all your hair off, you can polish your head with beeswax and you will shine, ladies and gentlemen. You really will shine. So we've done that. How are we doing on the old time front? We've got 10 minutes, which is marvellous. Just to say that I'm planning more trips. So we're going to Avebury, mentioned Avebury, but the lovely Liz Housden, she's a writer, a novelist, lovely lady. She came along to our meetup. She's written a number of interesting books. One of her latest ones is about smugglers, and it's written in I think the 18th century. It's a very nice, interesting book, love story and all that sort of stuff. But thrilling, thriller as well. Anyway, she, I can't remember if she was born on the Isle of Wight, but she has great affinities on the Isle of Wight. And she said, Richard, you should really go to the Isle of Wight and do some of your videos over there. There's lots of interesting places on the Isle of Wight that you should be researching into. And I thought, yeah, that's true. But, it's better if you've got somebody to go with that you know. And she said, oh, I'll take you to the Isle of Wight. She said, I'll take you to the Isle of Wight. I said, oh, all right then. So we're planning a trip. We may do a day trip. We may do a 2-day trip. Depends, it depends how the old budget goes. I think we'll probably just do a day trip initially. I think that would be the easiest thing. And have a bit of an adventure going around and seeing some place, because we can see then, monitor how the videos go down. If people like that, we can go over and do a longer excursion, which would be very nice. So interesting places. So what Liz wants to do is to take me to some of the lesser known places on the Isle of Whittle. So not the normal touristy traps. Although it would be nice to go to Haven Street. I don't know if Liz is watching, by the way. But it would be nice to go to Haven Street where they have the steam trains. Maybe catch a train. But we've only got a day trip, so there's not that much. So it may be that we have to do that on a second time. I don't know when the steam trains are running, but that would be a good one. I'm meeting up with George Timperley in the coming weeks, soon-ish, because we're going on the Spa, the Tunbridge Wells, the Spa Valley Railway. We're going to take a trip there. George is I think he'll be 13 then when we go on there. I think he's got a birthday coming up, and his dad said it's fine. He's a very knowledgeable young man, and we're going to go and take that. So we've got some of that sort of coming up. The lovely Cynthia Julian out there is working ever so hard. She says, I'm working hard to find some more old codgers for you. We had a lovely chap, John Eaton, the other day. Well, today, on today's show, 90, ladies and gentlemen. It was him who told me about Ella's beehive, actually, some time ago, and he said, rub this into your head and, under the arms and round the nether regions, and you'll rejuvenate. You'll be as youthful as him. And we all know that he only looks 65, so that's and it does smell quite nice too. So I shall be taking that to Avebury. Might rub some of it into the stones to make the stones look rather nice. So that's all very good. Also, if you were a patron of the Vobes, we put out a couple of podcasts in the last couple of days. Richard Suggett and I came in here last night and had a good old chinwag about this, that and the other, mostly about veg growing, and we were asking sensible and interesting questions. We produce a podcast. That's gone out to the patrons. We do that from time to time. The lovely Julia and I went to Tottington Wood the other day. There is a video coming, but we also recorded a special podcast as we wandered round. People have commented that they've enjoyed these two podcasts. Every now and again I go into the archive and I bung some stuff out. We've had stuff about this lovely chap called Bert Goebbels, who went to Easter Island. No, it was Christmas Island in the 1950s when they were checking out the H-bomb, and he was dealt a horrible blow of radiation and terrible, but he had a beautiful love story. That was also as a patron, and it's very good. So if you ever want to become a patron, you want to go here to thebaldexplorer.com and make a donation, a significant amount of donation. Remember to put those 6 zeros in at the end, and that way you can get some of these extra stuff. The other thing I was going to say is that we did do behind the scenes. Every day I would do a little bit of behind the scenes. like 2 minutes of what I'm up to behind the scenes, interacting with as many people as possible, and we put that out. But not many people seem to watch it. I don't know why. I'm not quite sure. Many of the patrons watched it, but when I've put it on publicly on YouTube, loads of people watched it. So I've decided that the behind the scenes isn't going to be just for the patrons. That'll be for the general public. The Great Unwashed, we'll be able to get that from Sundays from now on. So it's an extra bit of stuff. But of course, yes, if anybody would care to help donate and keep the show going, we've been going over a year now. And people have donated, and they've been very, very kind and very considerate. And we work very hard. I hope I've shown that the team that brings you this has worked very hard, and none of them get any of the money. No, the money gets the money gets stored. It goes into the petrol, and it goes towards the costs of things. None of us get the money, as in to sort of go on holiday with and that sort of thing. It mostly goes into paying for the costs of everything, which a lot of it is just down to petrol, but sometimes accommodation. So Mark and I are going away, and I said to Mark quite happily, I said, no, don't worry about the accommodation. That's where the patronage money comes in, and we'll make some videos, and it's going to be great, and people like it, people support us. And so there we are. So I just sort of make a little bit of a plea on that. I'm sorry about not being able to do the comments today. I don't quite know what's going on with Facebook. It seems to be having a bit of a strange moment here. Vicky Allen says, we're all lovely in this group. Yes, I do join the group, which is great. Ian Beddoe says, behind the scenes is brilliant. Thank you very much, Ian. You work brilliantly, says Mark Selwood, which is very kind of you. That wasn't a thing for you guys to say how marvellous it all is and everything. But David Carey has arrived. We're just about to finish, David. So nice to see you. But hopefully, if this is recorded, you can see the rerun. We're just having... Every now and again, we have a few technical problems. I'm having some very technical problems. Dan Thompson says, sorry, I can't give more. I have a lot of medical bills. Yes, of course. I mean, unfortunately, you live in America where your medical bills and stuff is... you don't have the NHS, basically, which is a bit of a shame. And I appreciate that. So what does he say there? I'm waiting to win the Publishers Clearinghouse. Oh, right. Okay. So that sounds very interesting. Mark says, going away, that's news to me. Okay, I accept. Thanks, Richard. Not that Mark. It's a different Mark. It's Mark English. Mark with a Q is who it is. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I'm staggering here to get through all this. I think I've done everything. Yeah, that's all good and done. So, ladies and gentlemen, all it really remains for me to say is have a fantastic weekend. That would be very nice. Enjoy yourself. I'll be back again on Monday. Hopefully the lovely Julia will be here on Monday. Who knows? She's a busy lady, busy lady. She's away this weekend. She's around on Sunday morning. She advises me, and we've got Mr. Suggett and I. We're going to plant some stuff in the allotment that we've worked on this year, the beginning of the winter season. So, Mr. Suggett from the Veg Grower Podcast, do check out his podcast at veggrowerpodcast.co.uk. Well worth listening to. The lovely Julia and I are going to meet up Sunday morning. We're going to make another episode of Julia's Kitchen Garden. You'll be pleased to know I'm not in it. I'm going to be doing the filming and the editing. I'm not in it. Just be the lovely Julia and the wonderful bearded Mr. Suggett. And he'll be bringing a whole load of veg and stuff to put in and talk about. And Julia will be, demonstrating where she wants it and talk about her aims and ambitions. That's the idea. And then we'll bung that out in the week, hopefully. So that should be fun. So anyway, there we are. Sorry about the struggling to get through. See you Monday, same time. Look after yourself. In the meantime, he says, putting the volume control up and being ready at the appropriate moment. When you hear this music... yes, it means that the old Vobie One-Eye Kenobi can actually leave. I don't know how I'm going to end the stream now because I've got this technical problem. But hey-ho, we'll work it all out. Thank you for joining me. Take care, one and all. Have a lovely weekend. Do keep posting on the Bald Explorer group pages. We love to see your stuff. Go out and make a video and share it on there. People do. It's all very easy. It doesn't have to be very long. You don't have to be any good at editing. You can just point and shoot and, stick a minute's worth of something up there. We love it. We're all good. We give you likes and, thumbs ups and all of that. So there we go, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks so much. Take care, one and all. And I will catch up with you in the future. But until then, thanks so much for watching. It's been lovely to talk to you. And bye for now. Goodbye. Goodbye.